Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. It looks like got extremes from fire to floods to heat to whatever. So hopefully you're in a place that's safe and you had a good weekend. So as usual, this is our time to share with each other if we've had things gone well, things gone poorly. We'd love to hear about it. Just type it into the questions, or if you've got a headset or called in, we'd be happy to talk to you as well. So with that said, Missy will be looking for those, and we'll go ahead and get started. So let me ask you a question, guys. Who wears the pants in the family most times? Who wears the pants in the families most times? Let's see some answers to this. Think it's usually the husbands or the wives that wear the pants in the family? The women, Bill says. I would agree with that. So, and here's the thing. When they come in, everybody agrees it's the wife almost always. So everybody agrees. So here's the funny thing. When they come in, though, does the husband almost always act like he's the one that wears the pants, like he's the boss? Yeah, he does. He likes to think he's boss, and here's why. Because the women let him make lots of decisions. The decisions they don't really care about, they let him make. I mean, what kind of car to get, what kind of furnace to get, where to get the oil change. They let him make decisions all day long because they don't really care about those things. So the guy assumes because he's making all these decisions that he's in charge. But when it comes down to it, if she really is concerned about something, if she really wants something to happen, what's the likelihood she's going to get it? Sooner or later, if the wife wants something, what's the likelihood she is going to get it? High or low? High or low? High, exactly. So what we want to do is make sure that we are addressing the ladies and make sure that our conversations, our system, our modes of operation all are addressing ladies. And it's very important, and I'm going to show you how we do this, but it's very important for a number of reasons. Look at what's likely to happen in the future. So InvestmentNews Symposium, they did a symposium, they found out that 80% of women die single. That means they're outliving their husbands. 14, or getting divorced from their husbands, one of the two. Women outlive their spouses by an average of 14 years. What do you think that means, guys? So let's think about this. 80% of women die single. They outlive their spouses by 14 years. What effect does that have on us, guys? What effect does that have on us? Well, this is the effect it has on us. Women currently control $14 trillion. And that goes up every single year. Yeah, Eric says widows are my best clients. Yeah, I had a ton of widows. I love those. But you're going to find out if you don't do this right, 70% of women change advisors within 1 year of their husband's deaths. That never happened to me, and we should know why. It's because the way the system is put together. So look at this. 80% of women die single. Women outlive their spouses by an average of 14 years. Women currently control $14 trillion, and that's going up every year. And 7% of women change advisors within 1 year of their husband's death. And why do you think they change advisors within 1 year of their husband's death? Because why? Well, what was the only thing the previous advisor talked about? What do you think the only thing the previous advisor talked about? Guys, what do you think the only money, Dale, exactly. Money, 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 money. And women, yeah, they're concerned about money, but what are they way more concerned with? What are they way more concerned with than money? Guys, think about security, maybe. Family, Eric, exactly right, family. Who makes sure that the family reunion goes off right? Who makes sure that the phone call is made to the kids on the holidays? Who makes sure that the meals, women are way more concerned about family, but the current advisor only talks about money, 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 money. So she dreads those annual meetings because she doesn't really care about what's happening with money. As long as it's there, she's happy. And again, I'm talking in generality. It can be, the roles can be reversed. I've seen where sometimes the woman takes care of the money and then the guy cares about the family, but rarely do you find that the guy that takes care of the money is as concerned about the family as the other spouse is. It's usually one is concerned more about the money and one's concerned more about the family. Not that both aren't concerned about family and money, but one is more concerned than the other. So we need to be addressing women. So how do we address the women? So let me ask you a question. Why do you think, oops, I got to get my slides going right. properly here. The disclosure meeting. How do we address women at the disclosure meeting? Where do we address women at the disclosure meeting, guys? The disclosure meeting is specifically set up to take the woman who wears the pants, we've all agreed that she wears the pants, and turn her into an ally, and just, instead of somebody who's got her arms crossed thinking, why the hell are we even here? This is a waste of time. Number one, the financial issues. I don't get what you mean, Eric. Number one, the financial issues. So you're going to have to help me out, Eric, because at first glance, I don't like that answer. Survivor's Guide, etc. So okay, you had financial issues. You're right. The non-financial issues. We cover non-financial issues at the disclosure meeting. The non-financial, Survivor's Guide, Power of Attorney, Medical Power of Attorney, Quality of Life Directive, Will and Trust, ID theft, umbrella liability insurance. These are all things. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Eric. So these are all things that address the family, address security. So we've had women are concerned about security and about family, and that's what all of these things talk about. Now the guy, he can't wait. He's rolling his eyes, and why are we talking about this stuff? And most advisors too are rolling their eyes, saying, why are we talking about this? I don't make any money on this. Let's get to the money, get to the money, get to the money. If all you do is get to the money, you're only talking to the guy, not to the spouse. When you start talking about this stuff, it draws the spouse in. All of a sudden, her arms get uncrossed. All of a sudden, she's like involved in the conversation. All of a sudden, she sees value in what you're doing. It's just not another financial sales guy trying to sell more stuff. And that's the way she looks at us. Now we've gone from that to somebody who really cares about her and her family as a whole. That's what we do at this disclosure meeting. That's why we spend the first 40 minutes. It has to be 40 minutes on the non-financial. It gets her on our side. And I will tell you this. It also, if you get a child involved, if a child gets involved while you're going through all these non-financial things, 100% that child will back you. 100% that child will make that parent work with you. So that's as an aside, but let's talk about that for a second. By going through the non-financial, if a son gets involved or a daughter gets involved, do you really think a son or daughter really wants to take care of their parents' finances? Do you really think a son or daughter really wants to take care of their parents' finances? No. They don't want to do that. That's a pain in the butt. So why? Why do they always jump in and tell their mom and dad not to do anything when we get involved? Why do they do that? So let's see some answers to that. Why do they tell mom and dad not to work with us when they get involved? Why, guys? They want to make sure there's something left. Well, I would agree with that. So what are they worried about, Andrew? Afraid the money's going to go away. Yeah, so you guys are saying it in a different way I'd say, but you're absolutely right. They're afraid we're going to take advantage of them, don't they? They're afraid we're going to take all of their money. But here's the funny thing. Once they get involved and they see us talking about the Survivor's Guide, updating the power of attorney and why it's wrong, medical power of attorney, quality of life directive, electronically filing those things, the will and trust, the ID theft, umbrella liability insurance, all of a sudden they go, holy cow, there's a ton of stuff my mom and dad need to do. Now remember, did they really want to, did they even want to manage the money? No. So if they didn't even want to manage the money, do you think they want to help their mom and dad get the Survivor's Guide done and the power of attorney updated and the medical power of attorney redone and the quality of life directive in place, and the will and trust in place, and the will ID? Do you really want to think they want to spend the next 2 months helping their parents get all this stuff in place? Heck no. So all of a sudden they go from thinking that you're taking advantage of them to, holy cow, you're going to do all this stuff for free? There's no cost? Mom and dad, you need to work with this guy. So the non-financial, I tell people over and over and over, I made $1 million a year doing things I wasn't paid for. Think about that. I made $1 million a year doing things I wasn't paid for. Because how many of my competitors are doing all these things? Zippo. Even today, how many advisors are doing these things? Zippo. I mean, we're the only ones. The people on this system are the only ones that are doing this stuff. So it gets the kids to back us up, but it also gets the woman, the person in the family who wears the pants, to work with us. So that's how we do it at the disclosure meeting. How do we do it at the agreement meeting? Well, first of all, we always need to be talking to who? When we're in that agreement meeting, who do we need to be talking to, guys? So let's see some answers to this. Who needs to be talking to us at these meetings? Well, that's half, Eric. So Eric says wife. Who else? Both. Exactly. We need them both talking to us. So don't just talk to one person You need to get them both involved. But where we really need to bring the wife, and we have to make a very concerted effort to bring the wife on board, is with the do-it-yourselfer. Okay? So with do-it-yourselfers, there's three types of people. There are people with no money, and we want to help them as much as possible, but we can't bring them on as clients. Then there's people with money that are do-it-yourselfers, and there's people with money that have advisors. So the people with our system is really designed around people who have money that have advisors. But I tell you what, if you use the do-it-yourself script in our system, you'll easily be able to bring on half the do-it-yourselfers that you come across. So here's how we do that. First of all, we need to talk about the two different types of do-it-yourselfers. There's the single do-it-yourselfer. Now, the single, do we want to work with a single do-it-yourselfer, guys? Do we want to work with a do-it-yourselfer that is single, whether they're a widower or no, Bill says. Anybody else? Do you want to work with a single do-it-yourselfer? So, Bill, I would agree no, except for one very, very rare exclusion. So the single do-it-yourselfer that loves it, guess what I'm going to do? Walk away. Anybody who would try to work with a single do-it-yourselfer that loves being a do-it-yourselfer that knows all about investments or thinks they do is crazy. Aha, Eric said, not unless he's ready to give up. Very good. Number two is he's given up. So here, if you run across a guy who says, I'm done with it. I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't get it. Every decision I make is wrong. I don't want to be dealing with it anymore. I want to go fishing. I need somebody to take it over. Will we deal with that person? Absolutely. Unfortunately, how many of those people do we run across versus do-it-yourselfers who are still convinced that they're the next Peter Lynch? So very, very few. Exactly right. Very few. So if you do happen to run across that rare guy who's given up or a gal that's given up, yeah, take them on. But they better convince you not once, not twice, but 3 times, 4 times, 10 times that they have given up and they're ready to hand over the reins, because do-it-yourselfers can really make your life miserable because you do a ton of work for them, and all they do is dangle that carrot out that they're going to work with you, and they never do. So make sure that you're very, very sure that they're giving up. However, that's singles. Do you think I work with couple do-it-yourselfers? Do you think I work with couple do-it-yourselfers? Mm-hmm. Bill says, yes, absolutely I do. Here's why. Well, I'll explain why here in a second, but here's the thing. When I go for a couple, do you think I go for all the money? No. I just go for a specific dollar amount. So the specific dollar amount, we have to have an agreement up front that they're going to give me a specific dollar amount. So it used to be when I first started doing this that I would they'd have to move $50,000. Then went up to $75,000. Then went up to $100,000. Then went up to $125,000. So you can decide what that specific dollar amount, and basically what that dollar amount is what you're willing to work for. What are you willing to do? Go through the process for dollar amount wise, and that's what has to be the agreement. And let's walk through why that has to happen. Now, here's the funny thing, though. She is happy to see you. Why is she happy to see you? With a couple do-it-yourselfer, why is she happy that you're there in front of them? Why is she happy to agree to move some of the money to you? So let's see some answers to this. Why do you think she's happy to agree to move some of the money to you? Guys, think about this. In their marriage, how many idiotic things has she seen him do? He's been screwing things up, Michael, exactly. He doesn't know what the heck he's doing, right, Eric? So what's Ron say? Does not trust husband completely. She's tried all of it. She's seen all of his harebrained schemes. You guys are nailing it, exactly. She doesn't trust him. She's been married to an idiot. Now, here's the problem. Even though she knows he's an idiot, does he know more than her when it comes to investing? So even though she knows that he's not the brightest bulb, yeah, he always knows more than her when it comes to investing. So does she feel confident enough to challenge him? So even though she knows he's probably screwing things up, she's seen him do it 100 times before, does she know enough to challenge him on that? Does she know enough to challenge him on that? Even though that she knows, that's right, Bill, she doesn't know enough to challenge him. So she knows that he's probably goofing things up. She saw him goof things up when he tried to put the fan on, install the fan, when he tried to deal with the neighbor's disagreement, when she's seen it over and over again, but she does not know enough about investments to challenge him on that. So she's had to just go along, cross her fingers, and shut her eyes, right? So now here you are in front of her, offering to do all the things that she wants, which is things to deal with the family And with the money, all of a sudden she's like, finally, we can have somebody here to look over my husband's shoulder to make sure he's not screwing things up. So she's saying, finally, I've got somebody to look over my husband's shoulder. And she's going to back you up. Again, if you're talking about things that deal with the family, the non-financial, etc. If you're just some money-grubbing salesperson talking about product, that's not helping her. You're no different than her idiot husband. But when you start talking about taking care of all these familial things, the survivor's guide, the power of attorney, and all those things that get her and her family in a pickle, and you'll look over her shoulder with investments, she becomes your biggest advocate, okay? She becomes your biggest advocate. So we actually have a script for do-it-yourselfers, and it's on the website under agreement meeting, and you see it called do-it-yourselfers. So here's what we do. At the end of the meeting, you know, we normally do the loyalty versus unconditional love, the fair versus unfair, and the little secret close. Well, that's if they have an advisor. If they have an advisor, then we say, are you loyal to your advisor? Do you unconditionally love them? If you have an advisor, if I did all the work for you and we found out big positive differences in your life, would it be fair or unfair to yourself to take it back to your current advisor? And then we had the little secret close. Well, our do-it-yourself ending, you don't do any of those things because they don't have an advisor. Instead, you're going to do the do-it-yourself script, okay? So here's the formula for do-it-yourself script. The first thing you're going to do is compliment them. Does this advisor think that he needs any help from you when it comes to investing? Does this do-it-yourselfer think he needs any help from you when it comes to doing the investing? Who does he think knows more, you or him? He thinks he knows more. So what you're going to do is you're going to compliment him on how great an investor is, okay? Then you're going to ask him, now, are you going to go into competition with me? Because we're going to treat them different because they're not going to go into competition with you, thus they're not going to steal your information. And then I'm going to say the real reason you came is because of your wife, not because of you. And then you say, I treat people with brokers or with advisors differently because I don't want them to steal my stuff. So they have to move all their money to me, but you don't have to move all your money to me because I treat you differently. All it requires is dollar amount, and then we summarize it. So that's the do-it-yourself formula. So the script is on the website. So let's walk through the different parts of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is compliment them. So I'm going to read this right off the script here. So I'm going to say, so you've done quite well. I mean, you built up a great portfolio here. And they're going to say, yeah, we did, blah, blah, blah. Well, he said, and they usually say, you know, they're kind of self-deprecating. Yeah, I'm sure I could do a few things better, but I think I've done a pretty good job. Well, yeah, but we could all do better, right? But here I think you're being modest because, you know, in 20 years or 25 years of doing this, I've seen a lot of people who do stuff themselves, and I've seen a lot of people who use brokers. So I've seen people who do it themselves, and I've seen people who use brokers, and I've even seen people who actually split it. They do some themselves and some with brokers. But here's the thing. How often do you think people that do it themselves are doing a better job than brokers? What do you think they say to that, guys? So ask them, how often do you think people with brokers do a better job than people who do it themselves? And what do they always, again, do-it-yourselfers are proud of what they've done, so what are they going to tell you? The do-it-yourselfers do it better, or people with brokers do it better? They're going to tell you that people that do it themselves are better. Let's say, yeah. I mean, basically almost 100% of the time, it's almost always, well, maybe 98% of the time, but the people who manage the money themselves do it better. You're right, Ron. The people who do it yourselves do it better. Now, let's think about this. Why do you think people who do it themselves do it better? I mean, why do you think that happens? Well, let's think about this. How many people, if you do it yourself, how many portfolios are you managing? Well, my own. Right. So that's one, right? But an advisor, he's got 300, 500, 1,000, 2,000. Geez, I mean, how much time does he have to spend on any particular portfolio when he's got 500 or 1,000 clients? Well, very little. Yeah, very little. Where if you have to watch 500 cows or have to watch one cow, which one is likely to you're going to do a better job of watching, the one or the 500? Is it possible for those 500 to get into trouble? So yeah, do it yourself or do it great because they only have one portfolio to watch. Also, think about this. Think about this. Now, don't get me wrong. Advisors want your account to grow. They want your account to grow. But if it doesn't grow, how are they affected? They want your account to grow, but if it doesn't grow, how does that affect you? Or affect them, I'm sorry. Well, it doesn't really affect them. But if you're watching your account and it doesn't go up, how does that affect you? Well, it affects me a lot. Oh, did it disappear? Okay, let me go through that again here. So where did I drop off there, Missy? Do you know?
No, I didn't hear you drop off at all.
Oh, some people were saying I dropped off, but I'm back, they said. So I'm complimenting them on the fact that, hey, if you only take care of your portfolio, you're only watching one versus a gazillion. And also, if the account goes down, it doesn't really affect the advisor as nearly as much as it would affect the investor. So watching your own account, you're going to only got one thing to watch, and you're going to be more careful with it because it's your money. So they're all about that, right? So what do you think they think about me at this point? Are they digging me? Remember, she's already digging me. How about the guy? Is he digging me at this point? And again, I'm talking generalities. The roles are reversed, but as we'll see, they're very rarely do both the husband and the wife. Yeah, I'm getting on their side. Exactly right, Bill. I'm getting on their side. So he's digging me at this point. So then we're going to say, right, I mean, you should pat yourself on the back because you watch the accounts a lot more closely than anybody else would. And as a result, you've done a lot better than most brokers' accounts I've seen. Now, we talked about some other things that you need to update. I mean, you need to get your beneficiaries straight. You need to get the will and the trust. We looked at some in the power of attorney. There's some holes there. You need to get those things taken care of. But as far as investments, you've done a fantastic job. So what have I done there, guys? So what have I done there? So I said, yeah, I mean, now we found there's some small holes here. Well, the small holes can cause you big problems. I mean, with your power of attorney, your will, your trust, we found some things wrong with the beneficiaries. We found some missing documents here. But as far as it comes to the money, you're doing fantastic. Because really, guys, these do-it-yourselfers, are they following tax law? Are they following estate tax law? Are they following anything except for investments? They're only following investments. So what I say, hey, yeah, you're doing a great job with investments, but I'm laying out there also that they're missing a lot of other things. And do they really want to research all that stuff, guys? I mean, I've worked with a lot of do-it-yourselfers. You guys have worked with a lot of do-it-yourselfers. How much time do they spend looking at tax laws compared to what Morningstar says about their mutual funds or Wall Street Journal says about their stocks or their stock club says? Yeah, none. Exactly right, Bill. They spend no time looking at that. So I'm just complimenting on the one thing that they're doing good, well, at the same time saying, hey, you're missing a lot of things. Okay? So you get where I'm saying that? So, I mean, you're managing, go back into the scripture. So, I mean, you're managing your assets. You've done a great job. But what do you want to make sure about all those other things? Should we make sure those are in order too, or can the little things really, if we don't do that, can the little things really cut into any gains that you make? And they'll say, well, yeah, I can see what you're saying. So let me ask you a question. I mean, are you planning to go into competition with me? And what do they always say? No, I'm not planning to go into competition. Yeah, you're not thinking about hanging up a shingle and going into financial advice and taking a bunch of clients, are you? And going into competition with me? Oh, no, I'm not thinking about doing anything like that. Yeah, and again, I ask this jokingly, but my point here is that you aren't my competition. So I feel I can share things with you that I might not share with everyone. See, if somebody comes in to see me with a broker, I require them to move everything with me. They have to move everything with me because I don't want any of my solutions, my tax savings ideas, I don't want any of those to go back to my competition. So I require people who have brokers to move all of their money to me because I don't want my advice to end up in the hands of the competition. Does that make sense to you? Well, yeah, I could see that. But here's the fact. Because, I spend a lot of time and effort putting the things that I do together, and I don't want to be shared with the competition. So I think, in fact, that you're doing all this yourself is terrific. And so I don't treat you the same way that I treat them because you're not going to take my information and spread it around the community. So if I think about it, look, well, first, can I ask you a question? I'll take a wild stab in the dark here, but are you kind of like my household? At my household, we split the chores, the responsibilities. For example, maybe I take care of the yard and my wife takes care of the garden, and maybe my wife cooks and I do the dishes. I mean, do you find that you and your spouse, and then I'll talk to the wife. I mean, do you split the duties? And what are they going to tell me? So what do you think I'm going into here now, guys? What I'm setting up is the fact that one person takes care of the investments and the other person doesn't know anything about what's going on with the investments. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. But I don't want to just jump in and say that. I have to say, hey, let's look at how life works. Because if I just jump in and say, hey, obviously only one of you takes care of the investments, their immediate knee-jerk reaction is going to be to do what? Well, no, I mean, we're both pretty up to speed on the investments. Nobody wants to look stupid, so what I have to do is set it up first so they can't say that. I know the objection would be, oh, no, we're both pretty up to speed on the investments. I keep her up to date on things. And is she going to feel like she should say, no, I'm not? No, she's not going to do that. So, because, again, she doesn't feel like she's in a position of power or knows enough to do that. So we have to set it up so that we can all agree that we all split it up and that in any household, one person takes care of the investing and the other person does not. So I'm going to go. So I've started to set that up, saying, hey, do we have different responsibilities? Yeah, for example, with my wife, I mean, I take care of the investment. Obviously, I'm an investment professional, but I don't take care of the checkbook. Guess who takes care of the checkbook? Well, your wife does. Yeah, guess who takes care of the bills and the credit cards? Well, your wife? Yeah, she does. So I take care of the investment. So even when it comes to money, we split it up. I mean, is that what happens at your family? Is it, when it comes to jobs, do you split that up? For example, when you go grocery shopping, do you push on the left side of the cart, and and Frank, you push on the right hand side of the cart? No, you probably don't even go to the grocery. Now maybe you go to the grocery store together, but most likely one person is going to the grocery store shopping, the other one's doing what? Changing the oil in the car. I mean, isn't that how we run the household? I mean, do you both jump in there and you're both washing the dishes and then you both dry the dishes? You know, at the grill, do you both have your own spatula, or do we split up job tasks? No, we split up job tasks. Yeah. So I mean, that's how it works, isn't it? So what I'm doing there is getting them to agree that we split up all the jobs, and you can do that any way you want. I mean, I think in the script I talk about. I mean, does it make any sense for me to call the pest control, and then Michelle calls the pest control 5 minutes later, and then when the pest control guy comes, I talk to him, and then she talks to him 5 minutes later? Is that what we do, or do we split up the jobs? Yeah. And I said earlier, even when it comes to money, do we split up the jobs? I take care of the investing, she takes care of the checkbook. Does that make sense? Or should we both balance the checkbook? Should she balance checkbook and then I balance checkbook? Or do we split that kind of stuff up? No, you should split that up. Yeah. You know, isn't that the nice part about being married? We can split the jobs up. So the way my household works, and Michelle actually does a checkbook, she writes all the checks, and I deal with the investing. And maybe I shouldn't assume anything, but do you both take care of the investing, or does one of you mostly take care of the investing? So what are they going to say at that point? We both take care of the investing? How many people do you think are going to say, yeah, we both take care of the investing? How many people do you think say that? Because first of all, somebody said, or Eric said earlier, he's got an ego. So what's he going to do? He's going to jump in and say, yeah, no, I take care of the investing. I'm the expert on that, and blah, 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 blah. Perfect. That's what I want him to say. I've never yet had anybody say they both take care of the investing, ever. And we've had over 70,000 people have used the system. Not all of them are do-it-yourselfers, maybe 5,000 do-it-yourselfers, and we've never heard anybody say that. Because the guy who takes care of the investing is proud of it and wants everybody to know that he did it himself. He built up this portfolio himself. And the way I set it up, by them thinking about how they split chores, it allows them to do that. Where if I just jumped in and said, hey, do you both do the investing? They might then have had a knee-jerk reaction to guard against that. But because we talked about, hey, my family, we divide the chores, your family divides the chores, everybody divides the chores, it only makes sense. By the time we get to when we ask, and I say, hey, I only take care of the investment, my wife takes care of the checkbook. So I'm admitting, even when it comes to money, my wife's not an idiot when it comes to money. She's not an idiot when it comes to money. She takes care of the checkbook. I'm at a loss to do that, but I take care of the investing. She's at a loss to do that. That's the way we work. We split. So by the time we get there, he's eager, and again, I'm generalizing, but he is eager to admit that he does all the investing. And then I'm going to turn to his wife and say, now, Mary, you've got other responsibilities, right? So he's taking care of the investing. Are you just out there back in the deck, sun tanning? Or you got other responsibilities you take care of in the household? So am I slighting her by looking at her straight in the eye and say, yeah, I know he's doing the investing, but you're doing other important things too? Why is that important to do that, guys? Why do I have to look at her and acknowledge that while he's doing the investing, that she's also doing lots of important things in the household? Why do I have to do that? If I don't do that, what have I just done to her? I have to give her credit, Andrew. You're exactly right. I have to give her credit. If I don't look at her and give her credit for doing lots of other valuable things, I'm going to be slighting her. I'm discrediting her. Exactly, Eric. I don't want to do that. So if I do, it's just say, yeah, so Frank, you take care of the investing, and that's important, blah, blah, blah. The little lady there, she doesn't know anything about investing, does she? What is she going to do if I try to do that kind of crap? All that groundwork I laid to get her on my side evaporates. So I have to tell her, I have to make sure that both people sitting in front of me realize that, hey, taking care of the investments is no more important than taking care of the family. Taking care of the investments is no more important than taking care of the household. We're sharing jobs, and no job is more important than another job. All we're admitting is that we don't both do the same jobs. We split them up. But you have to let her know that her job is as important as his job is taking care of the money. Does that make sense? You have to do that. If you do not do that, this will not work. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So then I'm going to say, well, and I should assume, but do you both do the investing, or both does one, or and he'll say, I do the investing, exactly. And then we say, make sure that we point out that she's doing all sorts of other important things. And when we've done that, I say, yeah, and it makes sense. It makes sense. So basically, everybody I've ever met in your situation that's coming in to see me, they don't really need me. They don't really need me. I mean, sure, they might be interested in learning a thing or two, but they don't really need me to take care of the money, because Frank, you're taking a great care of the money, and what did I call her? Mary, you're taking great care of the household. So you don't come in here because you need me. Yeah, you'd like a few ideas, and sure, we found some things we can help you out with the power of attorney and the beneficiaries being incorrect, and we found some things, but for the most part, you're taking great care of the money. The reason I find, the reason people like yourselves come in is get these other things done. But also, I'm going to take a wild guess here, and the reason I can take this guess is not really a guess, because I met many, many people like you every single month. And the real reason here is that you want to start to forge a relationship. So that if something happens to you, Frank, I mean, you primarily take care of the investing. So if something happens to you, there's a backup, so that Mary, you would have somebody to feel comfortable with. So you wouldn't be just like thrown from the frying pan into the fire. That you'd have actually somebody who you already had a relationship that could kind of step in for Frank until you're able to do these things yourself if you wanted to. I mean, is that right? I mean, so really, Frank, you're not here because you need help with the portfolio. You're doing a great job with it. The real reason you're here is for Mary, so that she can continue to do all the things she does, but she's not thrown into a whirlwind if all this is thrown under her lap all at one time when she's taking care of everything else. I mean, so are you really here, Frank? Are you really here for Mary? So what's that guy got to say at that point? What's Frank got to say at that point? Yeah, if he doesn't, Bill's saying yes. Guys, if he doesn't admit that, oh, well, no, I could give a rat's patootie what happens to Mary. She'll take care of it. She'll figure it out. Is he really going to say that, guys? Knowing that she wears the pants in the family, is he going to diss her in front of me and her? No, he is not. So he's going to say, well, yeah, that's here because that's exactly why I'm here. Okay, so you get it? So we're going to throw this in that he's really there for Mary, not for himself. So did I diss him by saying that? Yeah, exactly. RT says if he wants to sleep in another bedroom, he'll say no to that. So the fact is that at this point, he's admitted that he's there for Mary. And what's Mary thinking at this point? What do you think Mary's thinking at this point? Wow, she loves you. Exactly, because she's finally saying, finally, all right, we're getting somewhere here. I'm getting Frank to admit that he needs to have somebody else looking over his shoulder. She is getting excited about this now because she's getting somebody else involved to watch over her idiot husband to make sure he's doing the right job. And then I say, well, and to be honest with you, there's something that I have to bring up, and it's not all that great to bring up, but who do you think dies first, the husband or the wife? Who do you think dies first, the husband or the wife? I'll ask them, and they always say who? They always say the husband. Now, what do I say when they say the husband? No, it's not the husband. Guys, who dies first? Those of you that know the do-it-yourself script, who do I say dies first? The one who controls the money, RC, right. That's right, the one who controls the money. So, folks, I've seen, most times husbands can take care of the investing and they die first, but I've seen the other way around where wives take care of the money, and guess who dies first then? The wife. So it's not the husband, it's the person who takes care of the money, which is kind of funny. They laugh at that point, but what am I making sure goes through their head? making sure it goes through their head is, holy crap, especially Mary's head, the wife's head, thinking, whoa, you're right. He is going to die first, and I'm going to be left trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And he's going to leave me with a whole bunch of problems that I didn't even know existed until he died. So I need somebody to be, so you see how we're getting her more and more on our side. Does that make sense to everybody? So let's see if I can get jump into the script here again. So again, the way I work is this. With people such as yourself that are smart enough to do a lot of these things themselves without a broker, and because, remember, you gave me a commitment, you're not going to go in competition with me, right? You're not going to go in competition with me. Well, because of that, you don't need to move all your money to me. See, if you work with a broker, remember, I said you'd have to move all your money to me or I wouldn't work with you because I don't want to be educating my competition. But you're not going to be my competition, right? Well, no, we're not going to. So you don't need to move all your money to me. So here's the way that I work with people such as yourself. Now, I'm not going to ask you to move all your investments. You're doing a good job yourself. But if I was able to find a good home for, say, $100,000 of your $400,000, not all of it, just $100,000 out of your $400,000, something that you liked, something that was better than you were now doing, something something that really improved your situation. I mean, would you be willing to move it? Now, and let me explain why I asked for the $100,000. So now, guys, I've come up with this number. Again, you can choose whatever number you want. We're using $100,000 here out of the $400,000. And here's a great thing that's going to happen. I'm going to brag about how I take care of my clients without them thinking I'm bragging. So I'm going to brag, and it's going to actually hold teeth. They're going to actually believe it. They're actually going to tell me how great I am instead of me telling them how great I am while I'm explaining why they have to give me $100,000. See, if I just come out and say, hey, you know what you should know about me is I take great care of my clients. They love me. I'm a man of my word. If I just come out and say that, are they going to believe me? If I try to tell them that no, they're not, Bill, are they? If I try to brag about, I take great care of my clients, they all love me, I'm a man of my word. When I say I take care of them, I'm going to take care of them. They don't believe me. But here's what I do. I'm going to tell them why, or have them tell me why they need to give me $100,000, and at the same time, I'm going to have them tell me that I'm a great financial advisor that's true to my clients, that my clients love. So watch how I do that. So let me explain why I asked for $100,000. You see, that's the minimum client size that I take on, and the reason is I have a minimum client size is because there's only so much time in the day, isn't there? There's only so much time in the day, and I've made a commitment to my clients that when they come on, I'm going to stay on top of things for them. I'm going to keep them informed. I'm going to get on the phone and call them when things change. I'm not going to wait for them to call me. I'm going to call them when things change. I take very, very good care of them. I take personal care of them, one-on-one when they come in. And I promised that I would do that. You know, and so when I do that, should I fulfill my promise? Well, they say, well, you should fulfill your promise. Exactly. I need to honor my commitment, don't I? And see, all of my clients have a minimum client size of $100,000. And because I know they all have a minimum size of $100,000, I can cap my clientele at $300. Now, some brokers have 500, 600, 1,000 clients. I only have 300 clients. I cap it at 300. Because here's the thing. If I have 600 clients, how much time will I have to spend with them? So I cap it at 300. If I have 600, how much time will I be able to spend on my clients? Well, half as much. Yeah, half as much. And is that what I promised them, that I'd spend half as much time? Well, no. And should I break my promise? No. So why do I have to have a minimum client size of 100,000? Well, so you can keep it at 300 clients. Right. Because I should follow through on what I say, or should I change the rules once they come on board? No, you should follow through. Yeah, so do you see why I need to have a minimum client size of 100,000? I mean, why do I need a client size of 100,000? And then they explain it to me why I need 100,000. Am I telling them why I need 100,000? See, if you tell them why you need $100,000, you sound like what? If you tell them why you need to have a cap of 100,000, you sound like what? It sounds totally unreasonable. 100,000, that's way too much money. Why do you need 100? It sounds unreasonable. But because I go through this little conversation, and then I say, so why do I need a client size of 100,000? And then they explain to me, well, because you've only are going to bring on 300 clients, and you promise them they're going to take good care of them and be on top of it. And if you brought in more clients than that, that means you're going to spend less, and then you'd be breaking your promise. They're explaining to me why it has to be a minimum of 100,000 instead of me explaining to them why they need 100,000. So do you guys get that? I need some yeses there before I move on. See, I want to make sure. Okay, I'm getting, Ron says yes. Anybody else? Okay, I'm getting some yeses. Okay, good. So, because that's important. That's important that they tell you why it's $100,000, not you. Because if you tell them it's $100,000, it sounds unreasonable. When they're explaining to you why you need $100,000, then it sounds totally reasonable because they're saying it. So let's see if I jump through. Okay. So I know it sounds like a lot, but that's what I need in order to follow through with all my clients, and that's the agreement I have with them. I mean, giving the kind of service I promised. So I guess the question I have for you is this, Frank and Mary. If I was able to find a better home for $100,000 out of the $400,000, again, better home meaning what? That you like it, puts you in a much better position, it saves you money, or makes you money, or it's safer, or whatever. I mean, we don't know what that is, but if it made sense to you, would you be willing to move $100,000 to a better home if you found it, just out of the $400,000, just to begin that relationship for Mary? Oh, if it makes sense. I mean, yeah, only if it makes sense. I mean, you'd have to understand it. And all the things, you'd have to make sure that you thought it was a better place than it currently was. I mean, it would have to meet all of your criteria. I mean, it would have to meet all your criteria. If then, what would you do? Well, I'd move $100,000 if it met those criteria. And only if, right? Because if it doesn't meet those criteria, I don't care how smart I tell you it is. I don't care how many other people tell you it's a great place to be. If you don't believe it meets those criteria, you should do what? Well, then we wouldn't do it. Yeah, only if it meets that criteria. And if it met those criteria, you'd be willing to move all 400? No, just 100. Yeah, just 100. Just 100. So can we move ahead with that agreement then? And what do they say? Sure. And I would tell you that 80% of the time, they are, when you get to the end, they are loyal to that agreement, that $100,000. 20% of the time, guess what happens? 20% of the time, who's going to say what? Frank says, when we get to the end, guess what Frank tries to pull on me? Guess what the man tries to pull on me? He wants to give me the full 100. Guess what he wants to do? Think about it. Well, generally, Ron, they don't want to think about it, you know, because it ends up being a better place. They'll see that my idea is better than theirs. What they want to do, yeah, part of it, Dale. They'll say, well, you know, how about we start with $10,000 and see how it goes? And then guess who jumps in? I don't even have to say anything. Guess who jumps in? If you do this right, who jumps in and tells him to put up or shut up? The wife does, Bill, exactly. The wife jumps in and says, no, Frank, you said $100,000. Now, and then I'll back up the wife and say, well, remember, Frank, when we first began this, our agreement was that you wouldn't move all 400, that you'd move just how much? Well, yeah, 100,000. And only if it what? Only if it made sense. So did this make sense? Did what I'm showing you make sense? Well, I mean, it made some sense. Well, if it made some sense, then we should only move some of the money. I get where you're coming from then. I get on his side. So tell me where it does not make sense. And guess what they can never do? They can never tell me where it doesn't make sense. When you go through the one way or the one way or the Wealth Max presentation, or you go through our Equity Index Annuity presentation, or you go through the bucket strategy presentation, there's no way they can tell you it does not make sense, because they don't know as much as they think they know. So when you get into more, I don't want to say complicated, but more involved type investments or strategies, they don't even know what's going on. So that they're not armed, especially when you lay it on them right then and there. They're not armed to argue with you, so they can't tell you where it doesn't make sense. So they part with that 100,000, and we're happy with the 100,000 because, again, what we say. Who's going to be around longer, the husband or the wife? The wife. So when he passes, is this going to be one of those 70% that move their money, or the 30% that don't move their money to a new advisor? Is that wife going to be one of the 70% that moves their money to a different advisor, or one of the 30% that doesn't move to a new advisor when the husband passes away? Yeah, it's going to be part of the 30, Ron, exactly. So that's how we deal with do-it-yourselfers. We deal with them a little bit differently than we deal with the current clients. So if they're a single do-it-yourselfer, we walk away. What if they have $5 million and they're a do-it-yourselfer? What do? What if they have $5 million? Run, exactly, Ron. You run as fast as you can the other direction, because that guy's an expert at yanking advisors' chains. Yeah, I'd be willing to move a little bit to you, Ron, but you know, we'll just see how. No, they run away. That's right. They're a jerk, Ron. So, but with couples, I deal with couples all the time if they'll agree that they're there for Mary. If they agree that they're there for the wife, or the husband, if she takes care of the investments and he doesn't. They have to agree that they're there for the other spouse. You agree on a certain dollar amount. Should you wait until the end to agree on the dollar amount, guys? When do you agree on the dollar amount? At the first meeting, second meeting, or the third meeting? When do you agree on the dollar amount? At the agreement meeting, the disclosure meeting, or the implementation meeting? First, second, or third meeting? Where do you agree on the up front? Bill says yes. Right at first. I am not going to go forward unless they give me the commitment they're going to move a certain amount of money. And it has to be a certain amount of money. And I will write that dollar amount in big letters in crayon in front of them on the piece of paper so we all know what that dollar amount is. Okay? If you do that, you can close do-it-yourselfers. This is the only way I found that you can close do-it-yourselfers for any significant amount of money. Now, for advisors that just go in and try to prove that they're smarter than the do-it-yourselfer, how's that going to work for you? If you just want to go in there and prove that you're smarter than the do-it-yourselfer, how's that going to work for you? How many do-it-yourselfers are you going to get? Not exactly. I don't care. Can you prove to a do-it-yourselfer that you're smarter than him? Yeah, find another hobby, exactly. You cannot prove to somebody that is a do-it-yourselfer that you're smarter than them. They will not, even if you do prove it, what will they say? Will they ever admit it? They'll hate you. If you embarrass them in front of their wife, they will hate you, and you will never get the money. So what did you do there? Burn bridges forever. You're not going to get him or her. But if you do it this way, you can start to get in there. Ron. If you do it this way, you can start to get in there and get some of that money, get a relationship, so when he passes away, she moves all the money to you. She moves all the money to you, and then she goes to all of her friends, and they move all their money to you. That's the great thing about widows, is they are very well networked, and if you get one and take a great care of them, they will refer friends to you left and right. And why do they like us, guys? Just one last question here. Why do they like us? Why do they like us in the 5Q system? They like us to look over their husband's shoulder, but why do they love us? What do we do for them, guys? Who do we take care of? The non-financials, Andrew, exactly right. We take care of the non-financials. We take care of the family. We're not about the money. We're about them as people. That's why they love us. If we can show them that we care about them as people, their family as a familial unit, instead of just about the money, that's why they love us. And that's why they refer to us. If all you do is go in there and talk about money all the time, guess how many widows are going to refer their friends to you? They're not. So I just want to emphasize, people, they love it. Now, so as we get them to come on board, yes, we get them to come on board by them knowing that we're going to look over their husband's shoulder and we're doing all this stuff. But the reason, once they come on board with us, their husband dies, they become full-blown clients. The reason they refer to us is because we care more about them than just about their money. We talk about everything as well as the money, not just the money. Does that make sense to everybody? So was this helpful on how to deal with do-it-yourselfers? Do you see how it works? Any questions on how the do-it-yourselfer script works? Good. So if there's no, yeah, Missy, you got something?
I just wanted to pop in about the upcoming call schedule since it's a little bit weird with the holiday. So this Friday, we will not be having our normally scheduled group mentoring call because it is the Friday right before the holiday. Next Monday is Labor Day, so our normal Monday coaching call will not be held as well. So we'll get back on track on September 6th, which is a Friday, which is when we'll be starting our new group mentoring. There'll be 30-minute sessions every week based on your guys' feedback, and we'll be sending you out an email as well reminding you that we'll be starting these. But starting September 6th, which is a Friday, every Friday we're going to be having a 30-minute getting on their side training. You guys wanted some more information on that. So, and then we'll get back on our Monday calls on September 9th.
So guys, as Missy was saying, every Friday now, it'll be every Friday instead of just the first and last Friday. Every Friday for a half hour, we're going to just drill on getting on their side. So for those of you who can't find 5 minutes a day to do a 5-minute drill, at least get on those Friday calls. And guys, just as we talked about, what's more important, the scripts or getting on their side? No, Ron. Ron's asking if I take the time off. I don't. You guys are all taking the time off, but I work all the way through the weekend, Ron. So getting on their side or getting on their side, exactly. So be on those Friday calls. If you want to get good at this, you want to see your income double, those Friday calls are essential that you're on. Okay, so not this Friday, but starting next month, and I will be bugging you continually to be on those calls because that's what's going to make you a ton of money is getting on their side, that honing that skill. So thanks, everybody. If I don't talk to you, I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend. Be safe, have fun, and be ready and revved up for September. And if you haven't scheduled your marketing yet, dudes, you've already screwed yourself for September. You better get in there right now and get your October schedule. You're nuts. You've just lost. If you haven't got your marketing scheduled at this point, you've just wasted your September. There's no way to get one in September now. So now you've wasted the half of your marketing for the end of the year because you can only market in September, October. So if you haven't done that, you better get your butt in gear, get your October schedule, get 2 of them scheduled, at least in October. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.